There we go.
All right. Rob, the thing that people like to hear about when people record a podcast is about how podcasters podcast. And so I thought, since that is probably the number one topic on anybody's agenda, which is not really true, I'm being sarcastic. I got a new boom arm for my microphone. I'm just going to put it out there because, I'm now recording in my bedroom instead of my old office that got flooded, and I had this old boom arm that I've had really since you and I started this show, I think, and it was fine. But I need a little bit more flexibility for moving the microphone around. And so I got this thing by Elgato, which is, that's what all the cool kids use, are all the Elgato lights and streaming tools so that you can be a Twitch streamer. And this is it's nice in that it's got kind of like a plastic shell around the arm itself, which, does no exposed springs, helps make it quieter. And you can kind of tuck the cabling inside it so there aren't wires everywhere, and it has just a greater range of motion than my old one, so I'm pretty pleased with it so far. So I'll little endorsement of this arm. This is the first place I've ever mentioned this, so this is big news. I've only had it for like a week.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm still using all the crap equipment that I bought when I started this. I mean, the arm that I bought, I mean, I'm looking at it now, it's like this weird, horrible looking metal thing. It doesn't really hold the microphone steady, so I just have to not move very much.
Yeah.
And because I've still got the Blue Yeti, which is quite a heavy microphone, it really isn't built for that. Like, it just doesn't hold it up properly. It works. It does the job. Maybe when I move and I'm going to get a new desk and stuff, I might buy something nicer. Maybe I'll treat myself to a new microphone.
Yeah, this actually has a weight that you can add to it because some microphones, like you said, are heavy and don't need the weight, but others are fairly light and they need it so that the arm doesn't go shooting up. And so I actually have the weight installed with mine, but yeah, I don't know. It's fine. The old one I had, there's a lot of stuff about audio equipment that you don't really need to have anything very fancy. Mine was like I think a $15 arm that I used for, 7 years. That was a lot like one of those extended arms on a desk lamp, except instead of a light bulb at the end of it, there's a little place to put a microphone. So it worked just like that. But I don't know. This looks a little nicer, and it's in my bedroom, so it kind of helps that it looks nicer, and it does have more range of motion, which I like a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Well, word on the street, Joel, is that you finally managed to get a PS5.
Right. It's, it's incredibly difficult to get a PS5 until it isn't, and then all of a sudden it's not. And there's part of the story that I haven't even told you, but yesterday, so we're getting ready to launch a bunch of stuff at Mac Stories. And so I've basically been sitting at my desk in front of my iMac for, long hours every single day. And I do need to take a break though. And so I'm, scroll through Twitter once in a while. And in the last 2 or 3 months, I've been following a few of those Twitter accounts that, tell you when there's somebody's got some inventory of PS5s available. And usually by the time I see them, even if it's only a minute or two later, they're just gone. But I still, if I happen upon these, right at the moment they happen to be tweeted, I'll give it a shot. And I've tried with Walmart and Target and Best Buy, which are, 3 of the bigger retailers here in the US. And once in a while, I would also try Sony, because Sony's been doing this thing where they'll drop a bunch of PS5s, and they have this weird system where you get into a queue and you just sit there. And at some point, you exit the queue. And typically when I've done that, it'll say an hour to wait, a half an hour to wait. You wait for a long period of time, and you get to the end of it, and they say, oh, everything's gone, sorry. And this time, though, I got on, and this was with Sony, and I got on about 8 minutes before it started, and I waited, and I was doing other stuff. I wasn't paying very close attention. And I screenshotted it, of course, and sent it to Federico and said something to the effect of, I don't know why I'm still doing this to myself, because it's such a distraction to have that cue going in the background. Because if you're going to do it, you don't want to miss it. And and I had things to do, but it was kind of like late in the day, and I was mostly done with what I wanted to get done, and I needed a break. So I was just kind of keeping one eye on that. And eventually, it started out where it was like, oh, this will be more, you're going to be on here for more than an hour. I thought, oh, great. So, but very quickly it went to half an hour, then 15 minutes. And all of a sudden you don't do anything, because they say don't refresh, because essentially that'll throw you to the back of the queue, I think. And it dumped me into the store. And I looked, I was like, oh, there's a button to buy. But, I've been fooled by the buy button before. Walmart famously lets you get everything into the cart, put in all your information, and then say, oh, I'm sorry, it's gone, which is super frustrating. But I was there, so I was like, all right. So I hit it. I was like, oh, it's in my cart. Okay. So I went over to the cart, and I went through the whole checkout process, and bang, it said, here's your confirmation. You're getting a PS5. But it didn't tell me anything other than you've got a PS5. Didn't tell me when or what the deal was in terms of the shipping and all that kind of thing. But during the checkout process, I did notice that it had free expedited delivery, which, for something that costs that much, I think that's kind of appropriate. But yeah, so I picked the expedited delivery and checked back in a couple of times last night and then again this morning to see what was going on. And then all of a sudden I got an email from FedEx, because I've got an account with them, and said, oh, you're getting a package from Sony tomorrow. So I went from ordering yesterday to having a PS5 tomorrow, which is kind of amazing because I really didn't expect it to come that fast. I was very happy that I finally got one. But in a way, it's way too soon because I'm not ready yet. I've got all this Mac Stories stuff that we're launching, and I can't really deal with the PS5 until sometime next week at the earliest. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure we'll get it set up tomorrow night, and I'll take a quick run through with some game or another.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the nice thing about it is because it's got the built-in game, which is Astro's Playroom. That's the kind of thing that you can just jump in for 5 minutes, half an hour.
That is,
it's not some big huge thing where you got to be like, right, I'm going to play Ratchet and Clank now, and it's going to take me 20 hours. And
right, that's exactly what I was thinking. I would probably do first is play that game, since it'll kind of. I also realized yesterday that because it's been 9 months since the PS5 came out, and because I was so frustrated with the entire process of trying to get one, I just stopped paying attention to PS5 news, and I'd kind of forgotten what all the benefits of the PS5 are. And it'll be, I know that the load times are really low, and it's got a really good DualSense controller and all that stuff, but I'm looking forward to kind of rediscovering what the PS5 does, because I haven't really paid that close of attention. Now, I don't have a 4K TV yet, so I do have to solve that problem relatively soon too. But I think I'm just going to be happy to play these games for a while. The other thing about this is, if I had my choice, I would have bought the digital only version, because I really don't like having discs. But the disc version was all that was available, so I grabbed that. And I guess the good thing is that you can usually get games for some sort of discount on Amazon if it's a physical disc, and you never get that with digital. So I figured that extra $100, I'll eventually kind of make that back over the course of a couple of years, probably.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the other nice thing is if you buy a PS4 game that happens to be discounted, because they're generally a bit cheaper, and it comes with the PS5 upgrade.
Ah, right.
You can do that. I saw it.
That's a good point.
Not that I recommend this game, but Cyberpunk is $10 at Best Buy right now. For PS4, and eventually there's a PS5 version coming out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And yes, Cyberpunk's a terrible example. Nobody should play that. But, there are loads of games like that where, you get the PS5 upgrade. I see people doing it all the time. They just buy the PS4 version because there's no difference. You put a disc in and you still play the version. So
Right.
As you say, you maybe don't want discs necessarily, but it's definitely a good way of saving sometimes a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that, because a lot of times, if it's not like a day and date release, you can save $10 pretty easily. So, with 10 games, I could have covered that pretty easily. So somewhere in the 10 to 15 game range, I figure I'll be able to kind of cover that extra cost. But it's coming, and it's coming soon. I guess I'll sneak away for a little while this weekend and give it a whirl as I take a break from everything we're doing over at Mac Stories. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it finally, and I'll enjoy it in brilliant 1080p for the time being, which I know is kind of sad, but I really didn't expect to have. I expected to have a TV before I had a PS5 at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you've got one, but you're right. Like it's definitely come out of nowhere. There seems to be a whole surge of stock. Like I've seen Game in the UK. I think I've had stock the last 4 days. In a row.
Really interesting. Yeah, I haven't been paying very close attention lately, and I just happened upon this tweet yesterday and got in like shortly before the queue formed.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about what could have been a way worse week.
Yeah.
So, like, me and Jess, we haven't been away, as most people haven't, for the last sort of 18 months.
Right.
The world has been happening. And we were on Airbnb like a month ago, looking through the ones that we'd favorited that we maybe wanted to visit at some point. And pretty much everything's booked up because everyone's just staying in the UK. Like, nobody's flying out abroad to Spain and other places people go. And then there was this place that we'd saved, and it's like a converted windmill. On the grounds of an old mill, which is now just a house and it's a farm and stuff like that. And they had availability. They had like 3 days available, or 2 nights, I think. And it was pretty expensive. We were like, no, we're going to book it. We're going to go away for a couple of days. This will be really nice. And it's 10 minutes away from a zoo. So we booked some zoo tickets and we thought, this is going to be great. We drive up there and it's like a 2-hour drive or something. Which I know you're American, but a 2-hour drive that's a big day out for a UK person.
That's almost all the way to Scotland at that point, right?
And we're driving there. We stopped at the supermarket. We're maybe like 25 minutes away from the place we were staying. We stopped at the supermarket, grabbed some food for the evening and the week, and the couple of days we were there.
Sure.
And then we're driving there. We must be about 10 miles, maybe 5 miles away from the Airbnb. And the car just cuts out in traffic.
Oh no!
It just stopped. Whole engine stopped. Everything. Can't get it started. Battery's dead.
Wow.
2 different guys got out of their cars and we pushed it to try and jumpstart it. Wasn't having any of it. Tried to put the hazard lights on. They weren't running either. Like the battery was completely dead.
That's really strange. Like while you were driving, the battery died.
Yeah, I mean, we were in like stop-start traffic, so I don't know if it was a stall or not. I don't.
Sure.
But it just stopped. We can't put the hazards on. It's like a country road and 2 lanes, but it's inconvenient that we're broken down there.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's not. And the way the verge was, like the grass verge next to the road, the guys who helped push, like we could not get it up onto the grass verge to be out of the way. So, we're just in the road. And thankfully, we realised our breakdown cover had expired about 3 weeks ago, and we bought some. Because if we hadn't, this would have been way worse. Now, bear in mind, we phoned them up. We phoned the breakdown people, and they said, "Oh, what county are you in?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I literally don't know. I just typed in a postcode. We just typed in a postcode and drove for 2 hours. Like I don't know what town we're in. I don't know what county this is. Of course, there's barely any signal because it's the middle of the countryside as well.
Right.
After it takes like 20 minutes for us and the woman at the breakdown place to work out exactly where we are, and she says, "Yeah, okay, no problem. We'll send somebody out." Get a text from them. It's like, "Yeah, we'll be there in 90 minutes."
Oh wow.
We're stood on the side of a road. There's a huge queue of traffic, and I just have to sort of make this awkward smile at people as they drive past. A few people sort of shouted at us because we didn't have our hazards on, and like the battery's dead. There's nothing I can do. Like I can't, literally can't do anything.
Oh no.
Eventually, the breakdown guy turns up a little bit earlier. And we were pretty thankful we'd been to the supermarket because we were just eating our food on the side of the road.
That's good. At least you had provisions.
Right, exactly. Guy turns up, uses this sort of like battery jumper thing to start the car again.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said to us, he's like, yeah, you need a new battery.
Yeah, or this is just going to happen again the next time you turn off the car or whatever.
Right. He said, like, if you stall again, it's not going to start again, and we won't help you, because obviously the breakdown people have been.
Right,
and like,
right.
The problem is we bought cheap breakdown as well. Like, they weren't going to tow us. If they could get the car started, that was it. They weren't interested. So, like, Jess drove, I think, probably the carefulest she's ever driven to make sure that, like, she didn't stall or whatever. And we just found the garage that was nearest the Airbnb.
Right.
Of course, it was closed. This was like 8 o'clock at night by this point.
Oh, geez.
And it was about a mile away from the Airbnb. So we dumped the car in the car park. We put a note, because it was like a council car park, and we're like, oh, we're going to get a ticket overnight. Because there was no machine, but it said, there was no machine or anything for tickets, but it said, like, don't park here overnight.
Right.
So we just left a note written on a McDonald's napkin that just said, battery dead, waiting for the garage to open at 8 a.m.
Oh, man.
And then I chucked all the bags on my back and the shopping, and I just donkey muled it up the road for a mile with Jess. And like, in this time, like, we'd been texting the host of the Airbnb, and she's like, oh, that's awful. And eventually, like, we got there, and I said, oh, look, you know, we've dumped at the garage. First thing, can you give us, is there a taxi company? Because we need to get to the zoo tomorrow. And then she said, what garage have you taken it to? And we told her. She went, oh, I know him. Like, this is a little village. She's like, oh, I know Bobby. It's no problem. She was like, leave it with me. I'll sort it all out. I'll give you a lift to the zoo in the morning. So, like, this horrible evening turned into the next day. This woman texted us at like 8 o'clock, because, you know, she lives on the property, but sort of texted us and said, it's no problem at all. Drop the keys down. They'll get it fixed today. I'll give you a lift to the zoo. And then she phoned me at like 3:30 and was like, yeah, car's ready for you to pick up. Just go down and pay for it. So, like, it could have been way worse. I mean, if we were staying at just like a chain hotel, like, there would have been nobody to help us at that point.
Right.
But, like, this woman just made it so easy. It was like, great, we just get to go off to the zoo for the day.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Like,
that's really nice.
Like, the only time we spoke to the garage was to walk in and say, you've got my car? Like, we haven't spoken to you. Like, you've got our car. Can we pay for this new battery? So, yeah, that was our, like, 2 days that was supposed to be relaxing.
Wow. How was the windmill? I know that you had some geese that were there honking at you a little bit, right?
Oh, the geese. Yeah, I mean, I joked about this on Twitter, but I'm like, those geese must have clocked us straight away. They're right, city folk, we're going to make as much noise as we can at 6 o'clock in the morning. But no, I mean, the windmill was really nice. I mean, you saw it from the picture. Like, that was like, that was the front garden of the house, basically.
Wow.
You know, there's geese and a lake, and there was like a little bench that you could sit on, and
nice,
some bridges, and we didn't really get a chance. It was only 2 days, but like, there's loads of walks you can do. It's a fairly substantial bit of land. I don't think it's a working farm so much. I think it's more just the Airbnbs and stuff like that. But yeah, like, you know, it was really nice. And a couple of friends are going to go there now because we recommended it. So,
cool.
All in all, it wasn't awful. But I think whenever it was Wednesday, I think we drove up. Like, that evening, we were just like, this is the worst. Like, this is just awful. Like, what are the chances?
One of the first things that happened to us during the pandemic was we drove so little in the early months that our car died in the garage, and we had to have someone come out and jump the battery then too.
Yeah, that was something Jess was doing in the beginning of the pandemic. Was she went out every like Saturday to the car,
right,
and just drove it the 1 minute round the block just to make sure it was still running.
Yeah, and we did that for a while too. And then one day, I just think I got out of the habit, and eventually it died in the garage. So yeah, it's been fine since then. That's quite a story. I mean, that kind of thing always sucks, especially when you're trying to get away and have a low stress, you know, couple of days away from the usual, and instead you're thrown into this figuring out not only how to get to where you're going, but how to get your car working again and still enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, and then the last sort of funny bit of it was obviously that this woman, you know, the host, she gave us a lift to the zoo, which was really nice of her, and you know, she was lovely, and when she dropped us off, she said, "Oh, I don't think I'll be able to pick you up." And I'm like, "I wasn't expecting you to. Like, this is, we don't pay for this." We said, no, it's fine. We'll get a taxi. In a city we don't know, in a county we don't know. Like, we were just like, I ended up going up to one of the people behind the zoo counter, and I'm like, "It's a taxi company? Like, what town am I even in?" And they gave us a number and stuff, because we phoned one place and they were like, "We're 50 miles away from there." I was like, right, okay, it's not this one.
Yeah. No, we'll do it, but it's going to cost you 200 pounds or something.
I mean, that was exactly what the guy said. He's like, "I mean, we can, but it's going to cost a lot." It's like,
Yeah.
this is not wrong company. I was like, okay, fair enough. But all in all, it wasn't completely terrible. It was just sort of this underlying stress while we're at the zoo.
Yeah,
like,
right. Are you going to get your car back? Will it be ready before you have to go home and all that stuff?
Right, because at that point, I'd already started looking up like cheap chain hotels nearby, in case we had to stay longer, because it's like, well,
right,
this Airbnb doesn't have space because
right.
it's busy. So I was like, okay, well, we're just going to have to go pay for a hotel and stay here for a couple of days, because otherwise it would have cost us 100 odd quid on the train or something to get home.
Sure.
And then the car would still be stuck at this place. So it's like...
Sure, yeah, wow. That's quite an adventure.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm hoping the next time we go away it won't be quite that bad.
Wow. Have you ever watched... I got to ask you about a TV show. Have you ever watched... There's a show that is... Now, I know Jeremy Clarkson is not a very beloved figure these days, but he has a TV show that I think is on the... Maybe it was on the BBC, but whatever it was on, it's where he becomes a farmer. Have you seen this?
Yes. Now, this is a Prime original. It's
is
yes,
it?
I have.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was so good.
Yeah, Jennifer's been watching it, and I watched one with her, but I haven't seen all of them. But she's really enjoyed it. It is kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, watching it though, it sort of confirms what I've always thought about Jeremy Clarkson. And you're right, he's not particularly sort of beloved.
No, he's also a mean guy. He's awfully hard on people. You can see how he got into the pickle he did with his show in terms of, he was abusive to people who worked for him, and it's pretty clear that he's kind of I don't know. I don't even know how to describe him, but he's obviously not a very nice person a lot of the time.
No, but I feel like with the farm show, he's still sort of... Some of that came across, but you can almost see him more of a normal person, because that's his farm. That's where he
that's
lives,
true. Rather
than being the persona that they all play on Top Gear and Grand Tour and stuff like that. And yeah, right. I mean, he's don't punch people just for whatever reason. Just don't do that. But it was kind of interesting to see him not in the sort of Top Gear driving cars mode.
Right. Yeah, it was just very funny to see. It's one of those, fish out of water, city boy trying to become a farmer in the countryside of England type of TV shows, and all the hilarity that ensues with the farmers who are the people that he considers maybe the simpletons who know what they're doing and actually make things happen, where he's just kind of spinning his wheels, not getting his crops in on time and having trouble with his sheep and all these things.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was watching it, I think, God, I would be exactly like this.
Yeah.
This is just it's so not what I'm built for. In an apocalypse, I'm useless. I do computers. Those are the skills I have.
Right.
I can't, and the same with him. What's his skill? His skill is driving and, presenting TV shows. He can't be a farmer. That's just not the skill set. It's just completely different.
Right. He buys the fancy German tractor at the beginning, which is really pretty. Where the the attachments don't work because they're not the right kind, because it's a German tractor and not one from the UK or whatever. It was interesting.
Yeah. And speaking of farming and supply chains, Nando's are out of chicken in the UK. And closed 50 stores.
Oh no! I don't know about the Nando's around here, but we've had some of the same problems, especially with chicken in the U.S. I've been to places like the Chipotle Grill, which is Mexican food, and they'll say we have no chicken tacos anymore, and I don't know about the fried chicken restaurants, but it has been a problem here too. The other thing, there's like a lot of weird shortages in the U.S. of things like ketchup packets became very high in demand and rare because I guess so many people were doing takeaway for instead of going to restaurants that the packets of ketchup, just the demand for them was so high that they just ran out of them all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, we went to McDonald's. I can't remember when it was. It must have been a couple of weeks ago now. And they were completely out of cup holders. The sort of cardboard they give you for your 2 cups. And they didn't have, not the nuggets. They had nuggets, but there's these other chicken things, like chicken selects. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chicken tenders, I think would be what they'd call them in the US.
Right.
They had none of those either. And it's like, I mean, I worked at McDonald's for 3 years. Like, those are not things they run out of.
No.
This is just, I used to do delivery for a while. Like, for 6 months, I did the delivery as well. Like, it was consistent. There was always loads. Like, this is just not something that happens. And keep in mind, for McDonald's, at least in the UK, they own all of those companies that supply them.
Right.
Like, they're not... It's not like these are like just separate companies. Like, their subsidiary owns all these companies anyway, so it's like they have full control of it, and they still can't. They're still running out of stuff. So
right?
It's affecting every. I mean, if it's affecting McDonald's, it's bound to affect places like Nando's and other smaller companies.
Speaking of McDonald's, Rob, this is right up our fast food alley. Which is, I saw that McDonald's is testing cups that have NFC tags in the bottoms of them, so it can count how many times you go for refills and cut you off, so the machine just won't work if you go back for like the 3rd refill on your soda. Did you hear about this?
I mean, I didn't, but I'm just like, I can't. Like, whatever that costs,
I know.
Like, whatever the cost of that is not worth it. It cannot possibly be worth it, because the cost to them for like the soda machine,
right,
is like, it's negligible. Like, it's basically nothing per drink. Like,
that's where they're making they're making a ton of money off every single drink. That's where they make a lot of their profits. I know. And I suppose this is to keep people from, camping out at a McDonald's restaurant, the people doing like using it as their co-working space. Although I don't think nearly as many people are doing that these days as used to, given the pandemic. But I suppose that's the kind of person they're targeting.
Yeah, that is very odd.
Yeah, I don't know how widespread it is. It's definitely being tested here in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're testing all sorts of weird stuff. But yeah, that just seems... It seems ineffective, or at least uneconomical, at least for them.
It is kind of, that was my thought. I was like, well, okay, I know NFC tags, they aren't super expensive, but now you've got like technology in your machines and in your cups that you have to maintain and deal with. Whereas before you just had a paper cup that you gave somebody to pour a drink into. I don't understand how are you going to cover that cost with that handful of people who are going for the 3rd and 4th refill?
Yeah,
I suppose it's the people too. People will do. I know. This is a teenager thing I know around here. Is that they'll keep those cups and they'll bring them in the next time they go to McDonald's and just fill them up again. So
yeah, I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there's a lot of people really pushing the envelope when it comes to soda machines at fast food restaurants. Not us, though.
No, definitely not. So the last sort of little thing, I'd mentioned to you that I was just going through my Instapaper archive.
Oh, right.
And I found this link, and it's from a couple of years ago now, and it's just a guy that's like, download this goose honk sound and then add it to your Mac as the error sound.
Yeah.
And I did it last night, and it has not stopped being funny all day. And I get the error sound fairly often because I'm in the terminal and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. The funniest one was I was scrolling the terminal, and if you hit the top of where the history is, it just plays the sound over and over again.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to my colleagues, and they were like, "You're going to be really annoyed with that." And I can tell you now, 10 hours later or whatever it's been, I'm not annoyed with it yet. It's still hilarious.
Well, and hopefully they're all installing it, and that when everybody's back in an office, all you'll hear all day long are honking geese, right? It's call back right to your day at the windmill. I mean, you've got the geese all over again.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this was just a little fun thing, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to do that. And actually, yeah, it's just amused me every time it's happened.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. That is a great life hack.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could. I'm trying to think of what other amusing sounds I could use. But honk, I think is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Definitely. I mean, I think the error sound already sounded a little bit like a honk. So you're just taking that and taking it to its logical extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I think we've covered all our topics here. There was a nice mixture of different things and little stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will, next time we get together, I will report back to you on my first impressions of the PS5 since, 9 months later, everybody's wondering what the PS5 is like. Right?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, people are waiting for the John Voorhees review.
Right. Doesn't Sony know that these people have been waiting for 9 months?
Right. I mean, there's at least 4 people who are waiting to hear what you think of the PS5.
Exactly. Maybe even 6, Rob. Maybe 6. Oh, we'll see. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers. Speak to you later.
Bye.